A retired teacher in Tennessee paid property taxes for 9 straight years that she didn't actually owe. Her county knew how old she was, they had her information, they mailed the bill anyway, and by the time she discovered the truth, most of the money was gone forever. If you're over 65 and own your home, I need you to pay very close attention to the next few minutes because there is a good chance your county has a property tax program that could lower your bill and nobody is required to tell you about it. Now, before anyone gets upset, I'm not saying your county is breaking the law. I'm saying the system works in a way that assumes you already know these programs exist. And if you don't know, you keep paying year after year. Let's call this homeowner Margaret. Margaret spent more than 30 years teaching 4th grade in Tennessee. She retired, stayed in the same home she and her husband had owned for decades, and settled into what she thought would be a predictable retirement. Her mortgage was gone, the house was paid off, life was simple. Every year a property tax bill arrived in the mail. Every year she paid it, no questions asked, because that's what responsible people do. If the government sends you a bill, most people assume the amount is correct. Margaret certainly did. Then something strange happened. One afternoon, she was sitting at a neighbor's kitchen table having coffee. The conversation drifted toward home expenses. The neighbor casually mentioned renewing her senior property tax exemption. Margaret stopped her. What exemption? The neighbor thought she was joking. She wasn't. The neighbor asked how long she'd been over 65. Margaret told her, 9 years. 9 years. Imagine finding out you've potentially been paying more than necessary for almost a decade simply because nobody ever mentioned a program existed. Now here's where this gets interesting. Most people think there is one senior property tax program. In many places, there are actually multiple programs. And the second one can be worth even more money than the first. We're going to get to that shortly. But first, let's talk about why so many homeowners never hear about any of this in the first place. Because once you understand how the system works, this starts making a lot more sense. The annual property tax bill is designed to do one thing: tell you what you owe. That's it. The bill usually doesn't tell you what exemptions you might qualify for. It doesn't tell you which discounts you haven't applied for. It doesn't tell you whether you're paying more than your neighbor with a similar home. It simply tells you the amount due. And for millions of seniors, that's the only information they ever receive. Now, if you're watching this and you're over 65, I want you to think about your own situation for a moment. Have you ever actually checked whether your county offers a senior exemption? Not whether you've heard someone mention it, not whether you think you qualify. Have you actually looked? Because a surprising number of homeowners never do. They assume that if a benefit existed, someone would tell them. But that's not how these programs work. Most of them require you to apply. And if you never apply, nothing happens. You simply continue paying the standard amount. Now, I'm not suggesting there's some giant conspiracy here. In fact, the explanation is usually much simpler. The information is public. It's available. It's often sitting on a county website right now. The problem is that nobody is actively putting it in front of the people who need it. The burden falls entirely on the homeowner. And that's where many seniors get caught. Because retirement is busy. Life happens. People assume they'll look into it later. And later turns into years. In a moment, I'm going to show you the first exemption almost every homeowner over 65 should check immediately. But after that, I'm going to show you the second program that many homeowners miss even after they find the first one. And that second program is where some of the biggest savings can happen. So let's start with the first program, the Senior Property Tax Exemption. Every state has a different name for it. Some call it a Senior Homestead Exemption. Some call it Property Tax Relief. Others simply call it an over 65 exemption. The name isn't important. What matters is what it does. In simple terms, it reduces the value of your home that's used to calculate your property taxes. Let's say your county assesses your home at $200,000. A senior exemption might remove $25,000 from that taxable value. Instead of paying taxes on $200,000, You pay taxes on $175,000. That difference can save real money every year. In some areas, the savings are a few $100s. In others, they can exceed $1,000 annually. Now, here's where many seniors accidentally disqualify themselves before they even check. They assume they make too much money, or they assume Social Security income automatically makes them ineligible. That isn't always true. Every state uses different rules. Some benefits may not count toward income limits. Certain deductions may apply. The only way to know is to check, not guess, not assume, actually check. Because every year, homeowners miss out on savings they qualified for simply because they never submitted an application. If you're over 65, think about your property tax bill for a moment. How much did you pay last year? $2,000? $3,000? $4,000? Now imagine lowering that amount every year for the rest of your retirement. That's why these programs matter. They're not one-time rebates, they're ongoing savings. And that's exactly why missing them can become expensive over time. But here's what most people don't know. The exemption is often only half the story. The second program can be even more valuable. It's called an assessment freeze, and many homeowners have never heard of it. An assessment freeze works differently than an exemption. Instead of reducing part of your home's value, it helps protect you from future assessment increases. Here's why that matters. Home values have risen dramatically in many parts of the country. That's great when you're selling, not so great when the tax bill arrives. Because as assessed values increase, property taxes often rise too. An assessment freeze can help stop that process. In many counties, it locks your taxable value at the level it was when you first qualified. That means future increases in neighborhood home values may not affect your tax bill the same way. The exact rules vary by state and county, but the concept is simple. The exemption helps you today, the freeze helps protect you tomorrow. And here's the important part. In many places, the freeze requires a separate application, a separate form, a separate approval. That's where many homeowners make a costly mistake. They file for the exemption, they get approved, and they assume they're done. They're not. Let's go back to Margaret. When she discovered the senior exemption, she thought she'd solved the problem. She filed the paperwork. She started saving money. Everything seemed fine. Then another neighbor mentioned something she'd never heard of, the assessment freeze, a completely separate program, a completely separate form, and potentially hundreds of dollars more in annual savings. Nobody had told her about that either. If her neighbor hadn't brought it up, she probably would have missed it. And that's what makes this so frustrating. The information exists, the programs exist, but many homeowners only discover them through conversations with friends, neighbors, or family members. Now here's the question that probably matters most. What if you've already been eligible for years? What if you've been paying the full amount all this time? Can you get any of that money back? The answer surprised Margaret, and it may surprise you too. The answer is yes, at least sometimes. And this is where things become time sensitive. Many states allow homeowners to file retroactive claims for exemptions they should have been receiving. But there is a catch. You usually can't go back forever. Most programs have a limit. In some places it's 1 year, in others it's 2 or 3 years. After that, the window closes. And once it's closed, that money is often gone for good. That's what happened to Margaret. When she finally applied, she discovered she could recover part of what she'd overpaid, but not all of it. Years of potential savings had already fallen outside the recovery window. The money wasn't lost because she failed to qualify. It was lost because she didn't know the program existed. And that's why I wanted to make this video. Not because every homeowner will qualify, not because every county has the exact same rules, but because too many people never even check. Now let's talk about what you should do today. The first step is simple. Open a search engine and type your county name followed by the word assessor. For example, Orange County Assessor, Bergen County Assessor, Shelby County Assessor, whatever county you live in. Make sure you're on the official government website, not a third-party site, not an advertisement, the actual county website. Once you're there, search for terms like senior exemption, homestead exemption, property tax relief, assessment freeze, over 65 exemption. Every county uses slightly different language, so don't stop after one search. Try several. The next thing you want to check is eligibility. Look for three things: your age requirement, whether the property must be your primary residence, and whether there are income limits. Remember what I said earlier, do not assume you make too much money. Read the actual rules. Many homeowners eliminate themselves before they even apply. After that, look for application deadlines. This is important. Many programs aren't available year-round. Miss the deadline and you may have to wait until next year. A lot of people discover these programs in the summer only to learn the filing period ended months earlier. Don't let that happen to you. If you think you qualify, download the application immediately. Most are surprisingly simple. You'll usually need proof of age, proof that the home is your primary residence, and sometimes basic income documentation. Nothing complicated. No attorney, no accountant, just paperwork. And before you finish, search for the assessment freeze separately. Do not assume it's included. In many counties, it isn't. Look for the words assessment freeze, senior freeze, tax freeze, or valuation freeze. If it exists, file for it at the same time. Now, there's one final question you should ask, especially if you've been over 65 for several years. Call the assessor's office and ask, how many years back can I file a retroactive exemption claim? Write down the answer, because every year that passes can reduce the amount you may be able to recover. And if you're helping a parent, grandparent, or neighbor, ask that question for them too. I want to leave you with one final thought. Most people assume that if a benefit exists, somebody will tell them. A letter, a phone call, a notice in the mail, something. But many government programs don't work that way. The information is available. The benefit is available. The application is available. But the responsibility to find it usually falls on you. That's why Margaret discovered the exemption at a kitchen table instead of from the county. A neighbor told her, not the people sending the bill. And if this video helps even one homeowner avoid the same mistake, it was worth making. So after this video ends, take 5 minutes and check. Not tomorrow, not next week, today. Because if a property tax exemption is available in your area, every bill that arrives before you apply is money that may never come back. If you found this helpful, subscribe and turn on notifications. And if you know someone over 65 who owns their home, send them this video right now. It could save them far more money than either of you expect.